us via telephone to give us more details on this. Good evening, Mr. Ablakwa.
Hi, good evening.
I trust you're well.
By the grace of God, how about you?
I'm doing well. So, a high court in the UK months back affirmed this judgment in favor of the GPGC. And so, if our government, in respect of this judgment that is issuing payments, why should there be a cause for concern? Why are you accusing the government of recklessly and wickedly creating this judgment debt, as you captioned it on social media?
Yeah, good evening to you and good evening to all our distinguished listeners. So it is important to start from the beginning. The Akufo-Addo government decided to abrogate this GPGC contract. And I have read the 26 October 2023 defense put up by the former Energy Minister, the Honorable Boakye Jacko, and he sought to spread the blame that he should not be blamed alone, and that they set up a committee and that the recommendations went to cabinet, and that the cabinet chaired by the president took this decision to abrogate this contract. So if what the Honorable Boakye Jacko is saying is the case, then what it means is that President Akufo-Addo and his cabinet will have to be explaining to the Ghanaian people why they have brought us here. Because remember that we would not have had to be saddled with this judgment debt, but for the termination of the contract, which the courts, both in Ghana and in London, have determined that it was unlawful. They have not meant worse that that whole abrogation was wrongful, it was reckless, and that is what has occasioned this arbitral award of a staggering, a whopping $140 million. Imagine what $140 million can do. I mean, we are talking about, in today's terms, 1.6 billion, not million, billion Ghana cedis, 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. That's more than the budget of so many ministries. I mean, I am going through a disaster now. You know that we are struggling to construct emergency houses for VRA-induced flood victims. We've only managed to finish one, and we are scrambling all over the place, pleading with donors, begging philanthropists. And I must thank the Ghanaian people for coming through for us. You heard me in Parliament and the responses from various ministers saying that Ghana is in a hard place currently. This economy has been so mismanaged that that government at this point cannot provide emergency houses. So if we consider the context, how, even very important needs of our people cannot be met. I've only cited my constituency. Today in Parliament, the Honorable MP in time revealed that his hospital, the district hospital, has been disconnected because government could not pay arrears of ECG. And many MPs, including my good self, recounted what is happening in district hospitals across. Government is now saying they don't have money to pay the electricity bills of these hospitals. And so from June this year, what has happened is that the hospitals are on their own, and ECG is on the disconnection spree. One would have expected that hospitals will be exempted, because when you disconnect hospitals, I mean, this is life that you are jeopardizing. Imagine, those who are on the theater tables. Imagine those in incubators, preterm babies. Imagine those on oxygen. Imagine what happens to the medication, which require to be stored in refrigerators in a particular, manner at specific temperatures. When you just disconnect electricity like that because the government says they don't have the money, you're just killing people. I mean, literally, that's what it is. You remember not too long ago what happened at Kolebu, the renal center, just because of 1 million Ghana cedis. We lost 19 people. So if in the midst of all of this, because of the reckless decision of the Akufo-Addo cabinet to abrogate this contract, we now, per these documents I have intercepted, the finance minister has begun payment, and that is over 230 million Ghana cedis. And this is just part payment. Remember that the total amount will eventually work out to some 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. This is totally avoidable. I mean, if they had allowed this PPA, contract to run its term, was for a 5-year period, Ghana would not have had to be saddled with this. So this is clear causing financial loss to the Republic. And look at the state of our economy. We are the IMF. So sometimes when you see the recklessness, the bad decisions of some of our leaders, you wonder. I mean, if corporate Ghana was their business, would they run it this way? Would they take these decisions? Because the politicians who create these judgment debts, they don't pay out of their own pocket. It is you and I, our taxes. It's the taxpayer who bears the brunt. So they continue. I'm sure that is why in the wisdom of the lawmakers of old, they put in provisions for, willfully causing financial loss so that public officials will be deterred. But it appears that, we still have a crop of leaders who are still not deterred and are creating these avoidable judgment debts. Now, we have to come up with 1.6 billion. And remember that the finance minister had to issue this authorization and make this payment because the company, the GPGC, Trafigura, they had attached Regina House. As ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, I know that these diplomatic missions at our Ghana High Commission in the UK, these diplomatic properties came under threat. They had attached them. We will have lost these properties. And so payments have to be made at this time. At the time you are disconnecting hospitals, you say you can't pay. At the time you can't take care of flood victims, you can't build houses for them. At the time you say that you can't even give school feeding caterers what they need. You can't pay NAPCO, trainees, NAPCO workers, you've asked them to go home, you're owing them. So there's so many arrears. Look, even if you look at this Assembly Common Fund, arrears over many quarters. You take health insurance. The last time hospitals received money under health insurance was in May. Government says they don't have money. June, July, August, September, October, November, all in arrears. And yet, because of reckless decisions, we have to pay these sums of money, else the company will begin selling our properties in the UK. I mean, it's incredible the level of recklessness which this Akufo-Addo government has exhibited in these matters.
Well, Honorable, so in your estimation, this could have been avoided, but the government in 2017, and upon the advice of the Attorney General then, said that the deal, due to its attendant high tariffs, if implemented, would have cost the state $115,480,000. This you said this was a 5-year PPA deal. If it had allowed, the state had allowed it to run its course, wouldn't it have cost us more than what we are paying now?
No, not at all. Now we have a judgment debt of $140 million. If it had run its course for 5 years, we would have paid $115 million. or $114 million in some documents I have seen. Be that as it may, that will be for actual work done. We'll have had power, our industries will have used it, we will have had value for money, and it will have been over a 5-year period. Now here we are. You must cough up $140 million. The finance minister is now pleading with this company, and the company is being impatient with us. Now we are not going to pay this $140 million over 5 years. So you see how reckless the decision makers have been. I mean, $114 or $115 million, lower than $140 million over a 5-year period for which you will have had value for money. The people will have generated electricity. You will have, remember that this came in during the period of Doomsday, and we had to make sure that there's generation capacity so that we can keep the lights on, so that we can industrialize, so people can stay, in their businesses, so businesses don't collapse and all of that. So look at all the value chain that we will have received if this, power plants were allowed to run. What in terms of actual value will be far in excess of that $114 that now here we are. We've just made these guys rich. You're going to give them $140 million of taxpayers' money for no work done. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, I'm sure that the GPGC guys are smiling all their way to the bank. Who wouldn't want to be in their shoes? Who wouldn't want to be in their shoes? Because you haven't generated power. Your contract has been cancelled. They've asked you to keep your machines. We don't want to see you. And yet, taxpayers' money, $1.6 billion. We are collecting all and giving it to them for no work. That all they have to do, cross their legs, smile all the way to the bank, laugh actually to the bank, and laugh at the reckless leadership that Ghana has been subjected to. I mean, in the midst of our needs, and this is a country at the IMF. Like, this is a country seeking a bailout. This is a country that is doing financial haircut, saying that people who have worked all their life earnings, pensioner bondholders, they all have to take a haircut. I mean, businesses, banks, everybody has been robbed of their earnings. And it is because of such reckless decisions. So this doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense when it was cancelled, and these payments don't make sense. And look, the Ghanaian people, we have to rise and we must demand that those, and I think that we should even take a second look at these pieces of legislation. I mean, because those who create these financial laws, don't really, have to pay from their means, their pockets. They don't lose anything as long as it's their party in power. Unless all the cases where these financial laws have been applied, it appears that it's only when there's regime change. So people feel so emboldened to continue with their recklessness. But you see, this must stop. $140 million, $1.6 billion. We didn't get the power. Companies haven't benefited. No jobs have been created. The people were not allowed to do any work. And they are smiling all the way to the bank because of the recklessness of the Akufo-Addo cabinet.
Right. Now, at this point, a court has ruled. There's a judgment debt against that. Should we not be making efforts, as the finance ministry is making now, to settle this debt, to avoid, more further penalties?
I do not know to what extent Attorney General has tried to at least appeal. And see if they can even get the figures to come down a bit, because so far I'm not convinced that we have put in the best effort, having created this needless judgment debt. I haven't seen a vigorous fight on the part of government to at least mitigate our losses. I don't see that. I mean, it's so painful if you are going through what I'm going through, or what my displaced persons are going through, and As I speak to you, people are sleeping in classrooms for 10 weeks, 11 weeks now. They've lost everything, and they cannot even be assured resettlement. They can't be assured compensation. I mean, government says it is broke. And we've had to rely on the benevolence of Ghanaians, of the private sector, of corporate Ghana, churches, Islamic groups, foundations, and they hear, we all hear that we are going to be paying 1.6 billion, over $140 million, in judgment debt, something totally avoidable. I mean, the people even have done no work. Should we settle for this? Can't we have some effort to at least mitigate our losses? And should we be paying all of this at this time? $230 million. That is more than all what has been allocated in the 2024 budget for flood victims. Do you remember? The flood victims, they've allocated $220 million.
Right.
For the whole year, for next year, the whole 2024.
Yeah.
And yet, what has been paid on 14th November, a few weeks ago, is 230.5 million
Ghana cedis. Yes.
I mean, just think about it. When you put this matter in proper context, you get more angry.
Exactly.
We shouldn't be doing this as a country. Exactly. We shouldn't.
Right.
Totally avoidable.
Before we let you go, and finally from me, you describe in your post as this judgment debt being recklessly and wickedly created, and you are hoping that the ministers who wrongfully terminated the GPGC contract and willfully caused financial loss to the state are preparing for the day of reckoning. Honorable, beyond this expose and as a legislator, what do you intend to do?
Yeah, so we have served notice that we'll be summoning the relevant ministers, the finance minister, the energy minister, the attorney general. They will have to answer questions in parliament on this. And that is the best we can do now until hopefully the Ghanaian people entrust us with political power. And you know that, I mean, under the current circumstances, you don't expect, unfortunately, the fight against corruption, protecting the public purse, punishing people who willfully cause financial loss, it only happens when there's a regime change. So in terms of holding people to account by way of prosecution, we can only expect that to happen, inshallah, when His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is sworn in on the 7th of January 2025. But before that, our oversight role in terms of summoning these ministers and finding out why they created, this, and seeing if there can even be a vote of censure. The last time we tried that, unfortunately, we didn't get the numbers required because you need 2/3, and we have an extremely partisan house, and so that always becomes a challenge. But we will not give up. We have already served notice that we are going to pursue this matter. I mean, this is such a colossal amount of money. There's so much money, billions of cedis, that people will have to answer questions. I mean, you can't waste all of these resources. I mean, monies that should have been kept for development. It can do roads, it can do hospitals, it can solve our water problems, it can solve our housing challenges for displaced persons. There's so many things, that we can do with 1.6 billion cedis. And I can assure you that we are not going to be derelict on this matter in the House.
Right. Thank you very much, and we wish you well.
Thank you, my brother.
Samuel